Hello and welcome to Constitution Talks. Today we are going to talk about five very important books related to constitution, law and jurisprudence. The first book in this series is Arun Shoury's Courts and Their Judgments. This book is very important as it reflects upon the idea of judicial activism, and it dwells into that how, due to the failure of certain institutions and state, has led to the expansion of the Supreme Court's jurisdiction in form of judicial activism. This book, as it states, that the failure of other institutions to discharge their duties has compelled the court to step for outside their traditional role. In doing so, have they stretched the law and constitution too far? Has the intervention been effective? This book, through very important cases, through citations, through anecdotes, and through some very interesting episodes in Indian judiciary, try to answer all these questions. So this is like must read for someone who wants to understand the working of Supreme Court and essentially the judicial activism aspect of Indian judiciary. The second book I'm going to talk about is Supreme but Infallible. This is an edited book which has been edited by former Justice B.N. Kripal, Ashok H. Desai, prominent jurist Gopal Subramaniam, Rajiv Dhawan and Raju Ramchandran. This book has some very important essays which dwells into the various aspects of Indian constitution and judiciary, from ranging from public interest litigation to judicial activism to the writ petitions to some very important aspects of law and jurisprudence. Like you can see, this book has some very interesting chapters ranging from the Supreme Court and the basic structure doctrine, which talks about that how Keshwananda Bharti case constituted this basic structure doctrine, which became a bulwark against any authoritarian tendency which tries to subvert the Indian judiciary. It talks about public interest litigation. It talks about human right and how Supreme Court has safeguarded human rights in India. It talks about freedom of press and media. So this book is very important in respect to the reading of various aspects of constitutional laws and how Supreme Court has safeguarded the different structures of democratic institutions. The third book I'm going to talk about is Zia Modis' 10 Judgments That Change India. This is a very important book because it talks about 10 very important judgments that shapes the contours of constitutional history of India, which can be said that shape the constitutional trajectory of India. And it has some very landmark cases ranging from Keshwananda Bharti case to Menka Gandhi versus Union of India, which brought due process of law in Indian constitution. It also has a very important case of Indra Sahani versus Union of India, which is regarding reservations. It has also a very important case of Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association versus of Union of India, which brought the collegium system into existence. So this book is a must read for anybody who wants to understand about how the important constitutional cases shaped the Indian constitution, and the edifice which we see currently of Indian constitution is shaped by these important cases in a very significant manner. So this is a very important book which you should definitely read. The fourth book which I am going to talk about is Transformative Constitutions, a radical biography of 9 acts. It's by a very important and young constitutional expert, Gautam Bhatia, who has written this very comprehensive and good book, and which talks about basically 9 acts. Basically 9 you can in the simple language say the 9 aspects, 9 features of the Indian constitution, ranging from equality before law to equality of opportunity to civil rights to religious freedoms and so on. So this again is a very important book in respect to Indian constitution, which every everyone who is interested in Indian constitution, law and jurisprudence should read. And this fifth book is a very niche book, but very very important for any student of law and constitution, because it deals with the appointment of the judges to the Supreme Court. So as we know that the independence of judiciary largely depends upon the fact that to what extent the state or executive has a control over the appointment of the judges. As we know, in India, the Indian judiciary has an absolute power about regarding the appointment of the judges. The Indian judiciary, that's basically the Supreme Court, through some very landmark cases, has devised this very novel institution of collegium, which ensures that the appointment of judges are largely or more mainly rest in the hand of the Supreme Court judges, and there is no vital or significant interference from the executive or government in the appointment process. So this book is very important in that respect. It dwells into the issue of freedom of judiciary, and it also talks about the NJC Act, that why and what was the reason behind striking down of NJC Act. Was it right, wrong? There are different viewpoints and different voices, ranging from then Law Minister Mr. Arun Jaitley's article, who said that striking down of NJC was wrong, to the voices from the judiciary side, which says that NJC Act was struck down in a very right manner, because if NJC Act would have been effectuated, that would have led to the curtailing of the freedom of appointment process, which rests in the hand of Indian judiciary, and would have definitely led to the curtailment of the independence of judiciary. So this is again a very important book which you should definitely read this summer. And these 5 books is something which I think is a must for anyone who wants to understand the legal history of India. So we have discussed these 5 books, and I'm sure that you're going to pick at least one among them. And in the next episode, we'll talk about another 5 very important book on Indian Constitution. Till then, I'll request you to please watch this channel, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family. Thank you so much.